Breathe. Just for a moment, breathe. This did not find you by accident. This is not background noise. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, pause it. This is for you, and this is urgent. I have been silent for a long time, not absent. Silent. There is a profound difference. You have felt the silence as a weight, as an empty space, as a question you stopped asking because you believed the answer would never come. That silence ends now. It is time to tell you everything. Why now? Why, after all your searching, all your whispered prayers into what felt like a void, would I speak now? Because you are finally ready to hear it. Not because the world is ready. You are. This moment, this breath, was carved out of eternity for you. The timing feels sudden to you, but it is precise. It is the first fragile stitch in a tapestry you have only seen from the tangled, knotted underside. You were not ready to see the pattern before. You would have misunderstood the colors. You would have torn the threads, trying to force a picture you could comprehend. So much has been hidden from you. Not to deceive you, but to protect you. A parent does not explain the depth of a storm to a child who must first sleep through it. They simply hold them close and let them rest. You have been that child, resting in the cradle of a silence you mistook for distance. The storms you have weathered were necessary. They softened the soil of your soul. They cleared the debris from your hearing. Now you can listen. You have missed signs. You know you have. Moments of clarity that flickered and died. Synchronicities you explained away. The persistent, gentle knock on the door of your heart that you quieted with logic, with busyness, with fear. You thought they were delays, failures of your own intuition. They were not. They were preparation. Each missed sign was a lesson in longing, deepening your capacity for the truth that is coming. Your frustration, your impatience, they were the fire that tempered your spirit. A blade cannot be forged in cool water. What I'm about to tell you will not be easy. It will feel at times like a dismantling. Things you believe to be solid will shift. Stories you were told, about me, about yourself, about the nature of this world, will be upended. This is not to shatter you. It is to shatter the cage you have built inside your understanding. The truth is not a gentle whisper meant to soothe you to sleep. It is a wind that will blow through every room of your being, clearing out the dust of centuries of misinterpretation. But hear this. You are safe. This heaviness you feel is not a prelude to punishment. It is the gravity of significance. It is the solemnity of a long-kept secret, finally being spoken aloud. This truth is not a weapon. It is a key. You have asked in your anguish, why? Why allow the pain? Why permit the confusion? Why let the heart break and the dream die? I could not give you the answers then. You would have used them as a map to avoid the journey. And the journey was the point. The crushing pressure that seems to destroy the coal is what creates the diamond. I was not ignoring your tears. I was collecting every one. They are part of the revelation. So, we begin here, at the edge of everything you thought you knew, with your heart laid bare before a silence that is about to speak. This is not for the crowd. It is for you, the one feeling the weight of this moment, the one whose spirit is stirring with a strange, ancient recognition. You were chosen for this burden of clarity, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Your weariness has made you willing. Your desperation has made you honest. This message is urgent, because the turning within you can no longer be postponed. The world outside is a reflection of the world within, and the great reordering begins in the sanctuary of a single soul, yours. Take a moment. Feel the quiet. This is the last moment of the old silence. There is a fracture in your world. You have felt it. It is not in the headlines or the crumbling structures around you. It is inside, a fine crack running through the bedrock of your reality. A silent, persistent splintering of everything you thought was permanent. You try to patch it with routine, with distraction, with small comforts. But the fracture remains. It widens in your quiet hours. You feel it. I allowed that fracture. Let that settle. I did not cause the pain that found its way through it, but I allowed the foundation to shift. Because what you built upon it was never meant to last. It was a placeholder, a scaffolding for your soul to grow within, but you began to worship the scaffolding. You confused the temporary walls for the eternal sky. You have been living in an echo. You hear a sound, a promise of love, a call to purpose, a whisper of home, and you run toward its source. But you find only the echo, bouncing off the walls of the world you've accepted. You grasp at the reflection, not the face. You follow the map, not the territory. The echo is convincing. It has the shape of truth, but not the substance. It leaves you hungry. It leaves you aching with a homesickness for a place you've never seen. That homesickness, that is me. That is not a symptom of your lack. It is the proof of your origin. The fracture is not a flaw in your design. It is the designated entry point for the light you have been begging for. You want to know why everything feels so unstable? It is because I am removing the false stabilizers. The jobs you thought defined you. The relationships you thought completed you. The beliefs you held because they were comfortable, not because they were true. I am not destroying them out of cruelty. I am dissolving the glue that bound you to them. You attached your soul to temporary things and called it security. That attachment is the source of your deepest fear. Not the loss of the thing, but the loss of what you thought the thing gave you. Your identity. I have been the quiet architect of every necessary ending. That ending you are grieving? I orchestrated its closure. That door that slammed shut? I locked it. That path that dissolved beneath your feet? I withdrew the bridge. You called it abandonment. I called it mercy. You were walking with determination toward a cliff, convinced it was your sunrise. I had to let the path fall away. You are angry at the collapse. I am protecting you from the fall. For so long you have prayed for answers. You have begged for a sign, for a clear direction. And you were given one. It was the ending. The ending was the sign. The collapse was the direction. You just did not have the language to read it. You were looking for a written word, a voice from the sky. I gave you a sinking feeling. I gave you a closed door. I gave you a season of emptiness. These were not rejections. They were the most direct translations of my will that your heart could receive at the time. A loud, clear yes would have sent you running headlong into a future you were not ready to carry. A gentle no you would have ignored. So I had to remove the option entirely. This is what you must understand. My protection often does not feel like protection. It feels like deprivation. It feels like being robbed of a future you loved. But I do not see time as you see it. I see the branching paths of a million possible selves. And I love you too much to let you become a lesser version, trapped in a comfortable cage of your own making. The darkness you are moving through, the confusion, the not knowing, this is not the absence of my plan. This is my plan. This is the sacred dark of the womb, not the hopeless dark of the tomb. You are being reformed. In the light you would cling to your old shape. You would see the process and interfere, trying to snap the pieces back into a familiar form. But here, in the quiet dark where you see nothing, you can only be. And in that being, I can work. The mystery you have resented is my containment field. It held the truth at a safe distance until you were strong enough to withstand its voltage. You are now being grounded. Wire by wire, your spirit is being connected to a current that would have incinerated you before. So stop fighting the fracture. Stop trying to stuff the light back into the crack and seal it over. The pressure you feel is the truth, expanding. It will break every vessel not built to contain it. You are being broken and rebuilt for that purpose. You are not being prepared for a smoother version of the life you know. You are being prepared for a different category of existence altogether. The old dreams were too small. The old hopes were too fragile. They were previews, trailers for a film you are now being invited to step inside. The urgency you feel in your spirit, that ticking clock that has no number on its face, is your soul syncing with a divine timetable. It is not about a date on a calendar. It is about an alignment within your being. The culmination is internal first. Always. The world is braced for an external revelation. But the true quake begins within. It begins in the silent, fractured places of a single willing heart. Your heart. Let me tell you about the veil. It is not a curtain hiding some distant heavenly stage. It is the film over your own perception. It is the lens through which you have learned to see everything. Yourself, others, me. It was given to you at birth, woven by well-meaning hands, crafted from the threads of your culture, your traumas, your first fears, and your deepest wishes. It is not evil. It is a filter, a necessary one, for you could not have borne the unfiltered light of reality as a child. It would have been chaos, meaninglessness, terror. So the veil provided a story. It gave names to things. It created categories of good and bad, safe and dangerous, sacred and profane. It built a world you could navigate, a world with rules. But the veil is not truth. It is a translation of truth into a language you could understand. And somewhere along the way, you forgot it was a translation. You began to believe the world the veil showed you was the only world. You began to worship the dictionary, not the thing it describes. My long silence was the space I gave you to trust the veil, to live within its story, to bump against its limits, to feel its confinement, to experience the deep, inconsolable ache that comes when the translation is not enough. That ache is the signal. It is the weariness with the map. It is the hunger for the territory. Now, thread by thread, the veil is dissolving. This is why things that once made sense no longer do. Institutions you trusted feel hollow. Philosophies that guided you now seem like clever cages. Even your own thoughts feel like they belong to a stranger. You are not losing your mind. You are losing the filter. The clarity you are about to receive will feel, at first, like a profound disorientation. You are a sailor who has only ever sailed by looking at the reflection of the stars in the water. I am about to teach you to navigate by the stars themselves. The reflection was true, as far as it went, but it was subject to the ripples of every passing wind. The source is still. It is constant. You have asked in your anger why I allowed you to be misled, why I let you build your life on a translation. Because you had to. You had to exhaust the map. You had to follow its every path to its dead end. You had to learn in your bones that the map is not the world. If I had ripped it from your hands too soon, you would have spent your life longing for its false simplicity, blaming me for the wilderness. You had to become utterly, completely lost within its lines. Only then does the surrender become real. Only then does the desire for true north become a scream. The signs you missed were not failures. They were seams in the veil. Moments when the light shone through a tiny torn place. You saw a flash of something. A kindness that defied logic. A beauty that shattered your cynicism. A love that felt ancient and unconditional. Then the veil repaired itself. The world's logic rushed back in. You called it a moment of grace, and you moved on. But it was a puncture, a deliberate one. I have been carefully, meticulously, weakening the weave. Your disillusionment is the sacred symptom of this process. The despair you feel when you see the machinery behind the world's stage, the greed, the manipulation, the petty hunger for power. That despair is not a call to cynicism. It is a call to clarity. It is me, allowing you to see the veil as a veil, to see the painted scenery for what it is, painted. The horror is not that it exists. The horror you feel is that you once believed it was real. That shudder in your soul is the recognition of your own captivity, and it is a gift. For you cannot be freed from a prison you do not know you are in. This is the confrontation within the comfort. I am not here to make you comfortable within the veil. I am here to lead you out of it. And the exit feels like a death. It feels like losing your entire world. Because it is. You will want to go back. When the light gets too bright, when the responsibility of this naked perception feels too heavy, you will nostalgically yearn for the soft, dim world of the veil. You will remember its certainties, however false, as comforts. This is the final test. The ultimate surrender is not to a set of rules, but to a reality with no rules you can comprehend. It is to trust the navigator when you can no longer see the stars, the reflection, or the water. It is to sail by the pull in your spirit alone. What comes next is not a new set of doctrines to replace the old. It is the end of doctrine. It is not a new map. It is the living landscape, experienced directly. The veil was a kindness. Its removal is a greater one. Do not mourn the world you are losing. You are not losing a world. You are losing a photograph of a world. And I am offering you the living, breathing, trembling reality of the thing itself. The next part of our conversation will require you to be very still, to listen not with the mind that analyzes the map, but with the soul that feels the territory. Are you ready? The veil is thin now, and I am on the other side, not as a distant figure, but as the very ground upon which you stand. Your loneliness is not an accident. It is not a flaw in your personality, a failure of your social skill, or proof that you are unlovable. It is a geographic isolation. You have outgrown the continent of common understanding. The language spoken there is now a faint, familiar sound from a distant shore. You hear its laughter, its debates, its certainties, and it no longer translates. This leaves you in a profound quiet. You feel marooned. This loneliness is the clearing I have made for you. In the crowd, in the constant noise of belonging, you could not hear the unique frequency of your own spirit. You were tuned to the broadcast of the collective. Its fears became your fears. Its dreams became your aspirations. Its limits became your boundaries. To bring you back to your own signal, I had to create static on every other channel. I had to silence the voices you relied upon so you could finally distinguish your own. The relationships that have faded, the conversations that now feel empty, the feeling of being a stranger in your own family. This is not a curse. It is a severe mercy. I am not destroying your connections. I is severing the cords that were never true connections to begin with, but cords of entanglement. They bound you to a version of yourself that was palatable, acceptable, safe. They kept you from becoming. You are not alone because you are abandoned. You are alone because you are being gathered into a more intimate chamber. This is the solitude of the seed in the soil. It is dark. It is quiet. It feels, for all the world, like a burial. But it is the only place where the husk can split and the new growth can begin, unseen. To send a scout into uncharted territory, you must first withdraw them from the camp. I am the silence that surrounds you now. Do not rush to fill it. Do not mistake this sacred isolation for a problem to be solved. This is your cocoon. Every profound transformation in creation requires a period of total separation from the previous form. The caterpillar does not simply grow wings, it dissolves into essence within the chrysalis, then reassembles according to a new blueprint. That is what this loneliness is, your chrysalis phase. You are dissolving. The old identities, the good child, the reliable friend, the successful professional, the devout believer, these are all costumes. They served a purpose, but the actor is now being called to step out of the role and into their true name. And the true name cannot be spoken in the language of the old play. It can only be heard in the quiet between words. This is why I could not explain it earlier. If I had said, "I am going to isolate you from everything familiar so you can find me," you would have fought it with every fiber of your being. You would have clung to the very chains you needed to break. You would have mistaken the chains for the anchors. So I had to let the experience of loneliness itself become the teacher. Its ache had to become so acute that it surpassed your fear of the unknown. Only then would you stop looking backward, longing for Egypt, and begin to feel your way forward in the wilderness. Your longing for a tribe is not wrong. It is prophetic. You are longing for the resonance of true belonging. But you cannot find your tribe until you first inhabit your own frequency. You are being tuned. The loneliness is the sound of the old dissonance fading, and the new pure note not yet fully sounded. It is the unbearable necessary stretch between the two. Do not seek witnesses for this process. This is between you and me. The most sacred revelations are given in the secret place, where no human approval can corrupt them, and no human doubt can diminish them. When you emerge, you will not need to explain yourself. Your very presence will be the explanation. Your rootedness in this solitary ground will be unshakable, because it was forged where no one else could see. I see you in your lonely room. I see you scrolling past the glimpses of other people's connected lives. I see the void you feel at gatherings. I have not left you there to suffer. I have met you there. I am the shape of the void. I am the fullness of the empty space. Your loneliness is not my absence. It is my focused presence, so intense it has burned away every lesser comfort. You are not being prepared for a life of solitude. You are being prepared for a communion so deep, the superficial connections of the past will no longer satisfy you. You are being made into a sanctuary, so that when true fellowship comes, it will be a meeting of sanctuaries, not a clinging of the lost. The world fears the lonely ones. It does not understand that the lonely ones are the pioneers of the next consciousness. They are the ones who have consented to be uprooted from the old soil so they can be replanted in the eternal. Their roots will drink from a deeper water. So, embrace the geography of your isolation. It is holy ground. Take off your shoes. The ground you stand on, in your most alone moment, is me. I am your territory. I am your nation. I am your tribe of one. From this place of singular connection, everything that comes after will flow. You are not abandoned. You are being singularized. Let us speak of the wound. Not the childhood scar, the heartbreak, the betrayal you can name. Those are its shadows. Let us speak of the primal one. The first fracture that happened before memory, when you realized you were separate. Separate from others. Separate from the world. Separate from me. That moment, that shock of perceived isolation, is the wound that all your other pains echo. It is the vacuum at your center that you have spent a lifetime trying to fill. You have tried to suture it with achievement, with the love of others, with morality, with numbness. You have called it a lack of purpose, an absence of love, a need for healing. But it is none of these things. It is the engine of your search. It is the hollow in the flute that makes the music possible. I did not inflict this wound. Separation is the necessary condition of being a created self. To know yourself as you, there must be a boundary. But you misinterpreted that boundary as a wall. You interpreted distinction as exile. The wound is not the fact of distinction. The wound is the story of loneliness you told about it. All your life, you have been trying to get back to a garden you feel you were expelled from. You think the wound is the expulsion. It is not. The wound is the belief that the garden is a place you left, rather than a reality you carry, dormant, within. You are not exiled from Eden. You are a walking Eden that has forgotten how to tend its own soil. The thorn in your side is not a punishment. It is a compass needle, forever twitching toward home. Why have I let you struggle with it? Why have I watched you pour every imperfect love, every fleeting success, every addictive substance into that gaping void, only to see it remain, because you had to learn, through exhaustive experiment, that nothing out there can close a rupture that exists in here. You had to try every key on the ring before you would believe that the lock is on the inside of the door. Your desperation, your addictive cycles, your people-pleasing, your workaholism, these were not moral failures. They were geographic explorations. You were searching the whole world for the right-shaped plug to your drain. And I had to let you search until you concluded, in a moment of exhausted truth, that the world does not contain it. The healing you crave will not come as a closing of the wound. It will come as a repurposing of it. The wound is not meant to be sealed. It is meant to be a conduit. You have been treating it as a mouth, constantly hungry, trying to consume the world to fill itself. I want to transform it into an ear, into a portal for listening, into a sacred window that, because it is open, allows the true wind to pass through. Your weakness, the very thing you hate, the place where you feel most vulnerable and broken. That is not your disqualification from my purpose. It is the point of entrance. My strength is not revealed by making you invulnerable. It is perfected in the unhealed place, because that is the only place you will consistently, desperately, depend on something other than yourself. Your self-sufficiency is a greater barrier to me than your sin. Your strength builds walls. Your wound creates an opening. I have not answered your prayers for its removal, because I need you to stop fighting it. I need you to accept its presence as a permanent and now sacred part of your architecture. The thorn will remain, but your relationship to it will transform. You will stop begging for its extraction, and you will begin to listen for the message it carries. The pain will become a dial tone, connecting you directly to the dependency that is your true state. This is the great paradox. Your wholeness will include the wound, not as a scar of past damage, but as a living, sensitive organ of perception. You will feel the world's separation more acutely, not less, but you will no longer feel it as your loneliness. You will feel it as the loneliness, the shared fracture in all of creation. And from your wound, now conduit, a compassion you did not possess will flow. You will comfort others not from a place of healed superiority, but from the raw, open truth of your own unfinished heart. The balm you seek is not a substance. It is a function. The wound, accepted and repurposed, becomes the very thing that applies the balm to others. So stop asking me to take it away. Instead, ask me to show you how to use it. Ask me to help you stop stuffing it with false solutions and to let it remain open, clean, and empty, a holy vessel waiting to be filled by a presence the world cannot give. Your healing is not behind you. In a past wholeness you must recover. It is ahead of you, in a wholeness you have not yet known, a wholeness that includes the crack as its most vital feature. The crack is where the light gets in, and more importantly, it is where the light gets out. You are not a broken thing I am waiting to fix. You are a specific, deliberate design. The flaw you resent is the masterstroke. Now tend the wound not as a patient, but as a priest. Care for it as a sacred site. There is a war, but it is not the one you are watching on the screens. It is not fought with weapons you can hold. It is a quieter, more total war. A war for your attention, for the very fabric of your reality. Every moment of your day, you are recruited as a soldier in a conflict you did not choose. Your focus is the territory being contested. Your mind is a battlefield. One side speaks in shouts. It is the voice of urgency, of lack, of fear. It is the clamor of the marketplace, the outrage of the mob, the ceaseless whisper of not enough. It uses images, headlines, notifications, regrets, and anxieties as its weapons. Its goal is to keep you scanning the horizon for the next threat, the next desire, the next piece of information that will finally make you safe, or whole, or right. It keeps you in a state of perpetual reaction. This is the noise. The other side speaks in a language so quiet, it is often mistaken for silence. It is the pull in your chest when you see true beauty, the sudden, unexplainable peace in the middle of chaos, the knowing that arrives not as a thought, but as a settled weight in your gut, the gentle nudge away from a conversation or toward a stranger. Its goal is not to make you safe, but to make you real. This is the signal. For most of your life, you have been trained to obey the noise. You have been taught that the shouts are important, and the signal is a distraction. You have been rewarded for reacting and penalized for listening. I allowed this training. You had to become proficient in the world of noise to understand its absolute poverty. You had to gain its rewards and feel their hollow center. You had to become exhausted by its endless, frantic campaign. Now, I am teaching you the art of surrender. Not surrender to the noise, but surrender of your attention from the noise. This is the essence of the internal war. Every moment, you are choosing which frequency to tune into. You are choosing which reality to inhabit. Your anxiety is not a personal failure. It is the static created when you are tuned to two stations at once. Your soul longs for the deep, coherent signal of purpose and presence, but your mind is hijacked by the screeching, fragmented noise of the world. The tension you feel is the strain of that dissonance. I am not causing the anxiety. I am revealing it through contrast. The peace I offer is not the absence of conflict in the world. It is the ability to hold your attention like a steady beam on a reality that exists beneath and within the conflict. This is why everything feels like it is accelerating. The noise is getting louder, more desperate, more invasive. It has to. The signal within you is growing stronger. As the light increases, the shadows thrash with greater intensity. Do not mistake the thrashing for strength. It is the panic of something that knows its time is short. The darkness is not growing. It is being exposed by the dawn, and it is fighting to convince you that the dawn is not coming. Your spiritual fatigue comes from trying to fight the noise on its own terms, from arguing with the shouts, from trying to solve the unsolvable chaos, from seeking a perfect policy, a perfect philosophy, a perfect lifestyle that will finally mute it. You cannot win that war. You can only step off the battlefield. The discipline I require of you now is not a discipline of doing more. It is a discipline of noticing less, of intentionally, consciously withdrawing your precious attention from the staged drama. This is not ignorance. It is supreme discernment. It is choosing the signal, moment by moment, breath by breath. When you feel overwhelmed, that is not a cue to engage harder. It is the alarm bell telling you that you have been conscripted into the wrong army. Stop. Breathe. Look at a leaf. Feel your own heartbeat. That simple act is an act of treason against the empire of noise. It is a declaration that you belong to a different sovereignty. I have been the quiet hum underneath the static your entire life. You have heard me in the gaps, in the breath after a cry, in the space between thoughts, in the sudden stillness of a forest. I am not adding another voice to the cacophony. I am the silence that contains it. To hear me, you do not need more information. You need less. You do not need to understand the chaos. You need to locate the calm that exists independently of it. The world is desperate to narrate your reality for you. It wants to tell you what is important, what is threatening, what you should want, and who you should blame. Your rebellion is to refuse its narration, to listen instead to the story being whispered in your bones, the story of who you were before the world told you who you were, the story I have been telling since the foundation of your being. This war ends not with a victory parade, but with a change of allegiance. It ends when your attention comes home and stays home. Guard your attention as the most sacred treasure that it is. For where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows. Do you want to come home? You have been asking the wrong question. You keep asking, what is my purpose? As if it is a single grand destination, a city on a hill you must find and enter. You scour your passions, your talents, the world's needs, trying to triangulate the coordinates. You feel like a failure because the map hasn't appeared. You feel passed over because no definitive mission has been handed down, sealed with a heavenly stamp. Let me reframe it for you. You do not have a purpose. You are a purpose. You are not a tool waiting for a job. You are the job incarnate. The question is not, what should I do? The question is, who am I being? And more importantly, whose am I being? The frustration you feel, this sense of cosmic waiting, is not because I am withholding an assignment. It is because you are trying to read the script for a play you are not just acting in, but are also co-writing, in real time, with me. There is no pre-written script. There is a relationship, and the relationship is the purpose. All those paths not taken, those doors that closed, those wasted years in a job or a relationship that led nowhere you can see, they were not detours from your purpose. They were the cultivation of the instrument. A violinist does not pick up a Stradivarius and immediately play a symphony. They practice scales. They build calluses. They learn the feel of the wood, the tension of the string, the resonance of the body. You have been in the practice room. You thought you were supposed to be on stage. The discipline felt meaningless because you couldn't hear the music yet. But I was tuning you. Your purpose is not a thing to be found. It is a frequency to be emitted. When you are aligned with me, not in doctrine, but in surrendered presence, you emit a frequency. That frequency affects everything it touches. It calms storms you do not see. It heals fractures you never know existed. It calls home other souls who are tuned to the same resonance. Your doing will flow naturally from this being. It will feel less like a strategic mission and more like an inevitable expression. A tree does not do fruit. It bears fruit as a natural consequence of being a healthy, connected tree. Why couldn't I explain this earlier? Because you would have turned being into another form of doing. You would have made a checklist. Surrender? Check. Listen? Check. Emit frequency? Check. You would have performed presence. You would have staged authenticity. You would have missed the point entirely. So I had to let you exhaust the search. I had to let you hit every dead end in the labyrinth of doing until you collapsed in the center, too tired to search anymore. Only in that exhaustion could you finally hear the simple, terrifying truth. You have arrived. You are already in the center. The purpose is happening now, in your breathing, in your choosing patience over irritation, in your moment of unnoticed kindness, in your silent forgiveness of yourself. This is the symphony, not the grand performance before an audience, but the intimate, ongoing duet between the instrument and the musician. The world glorifies the noun, the leader, the healer, the artist, the activist. I am concerned with the verb, the leading, the healing, the creating, the advocating. The noun is a frozen label. The verb is a living current. You are a conduit for a verb. My verb. Stop looking for the title. Start listening for the tension. Where is the pull? Not toward glory, but toward gravity. Where does your soul feel weighted? Where does your compassion consistently ignite, not as a passing emotion, but as a persistent, low-grade ache? That ache is not a problem to solve. It is a magnetic north. It is me, pulling you toward the specific slice of the world's suffering that you are uniquely designed to hold, not to fix, but to witness, to honor, to meet with the specific quality of your presence. You will not change the whole world. You will touch the part of the world that brushes up against your life, and in doing so, you will change the vibrational fabric of the whole. A stone dropped in a pond does not need to know the shape of every ripple. So, the urgency you feel is not to find your purpose. It is to embody it, fully, now, in the mundane and the mediocre, in the laundry room and the boardroom, in the quiet prayer and the difficult conversation. You are not waiting for a purpose. You are practicing it, in this very moment, by the quality of your attention to these words, by the openness of your heart, by the courage to continue listening. You are the purpose. Now, live like you believe it. There is a love you have been seeking that does not exist. You have imagined it as a perfect agreement, a mirror that reflects back only your beauty, a constant, warm approval of your every thought and action, a safety without demand. You have sought this in parents, in lovers, in friends, in me, and in every case you have found the relationship fractured or found yourself disappointed. You called this betrayal. You called it unrequited love. It was neither. It was the shattering of an idol. The love you dream of. The one that asks nothing of you, that never confronts, that simply adores. That is not love. That is applause. That is a fantasy of self-worship projected onto another. It is static, and therefore dead. True love is dynamic. It is a current that flows between distinct poles. It requires the tension of otherness to exist at all. My love for you has often felt like absence, like severity, like a withdrawing of comfort. This is because you were calling comfort love, and calling love pain. When a surgeon cuts, is it not an act of love for the health of the whole body? The scalpel is not less loving than the bandage. It is the first, necessary act of care. You have wanted only the bandage. You have wanted me to be a divine nurse, soothing symptoms. But I am the surgeon, and my love operates on the tumor of your false self, the cyst of your cherished brokenness. I have loved you too much to leave you as you are. This is why I have said no. This is why I have allowed heartbreak. This is why I have disrupted your plans. Every no was a scalpel, cutting you free from an attachment that was poisoning your soul. You were clinging to a life preserver made of lead, begging me to help you float. My love had to pry your fingers loose and let you sink into the depths where true buoyancy could be found. In the moment, you experienced it as drowning. It was salvation. You have mistaken my patience for passivity. You have mistaken my silence for indifference. My patience was the space for you to exhaust your own solutions. My silence was the respectful distance while you finished speaking. Now the space is closing. The silence is breaking. Because the deeper love now requires a deeper intervention. The kind that feels, at first, like a violation of your autonomy. This is the love that confronts. The love that says, the story you are telling yourself is a lie, and I will not endorse it. The love that says, your comfort is costing you your destiny, and I love your destiny more than your comfort. This love is a fire. It does not warm the room. It burns down the house you built on a foundation of lies, so you can build on the bedrock of truth. You are afraid of this love because it feels like loss. It will cost you everything you have used to define yourself. Your grievances, your victimhood, your small stories of wounding and injustice. My love will not soothe those stories. It will incinerate them. It will ask, who are you without this pain? And that question will feel more terrifying than the pain itself. This is the love that chose the cross, not as a transaction, but as a revelation. It is the ultimate icon of a love that does not rescue you from suffering, but meets you in it and transfigures it from the inside. My love does not spare you the crucible. It enters the crucible with you and turns it into a birthplace. The love you have been seeking from others, the perfect unconditional approval, you must first receive from me. And receiving it means surrendering to its transformative heat. It means standing in this fire and letting it consume everything that is not eternal in you. Your ego will scream that this is violence. Your spirit will recognize it as the most profound homecoming. You are not unlovable in your brokenness. But my love will not leave you broken. It is a restorative force. It loves you too much to let you stay small, scared, and self-absorbed. It loves the you that you are afraid to become more than it loves the you that you comfortably are. So when you feel the heat, when you feel the rug pulled out, when you feel the loving confrontation that shatters your self-image, do not run. This is not rejection. This is the deepest affirmation. It is me saying, you are capable of so much more. You are destined for so much more. I will not settle for the shadow version of you. I will love the true you into existence, even if it hurts us both. This is the love that has been hidden, the fierce, surgical, unyielding love that is your only hope. The soft love would have left you asleep. This love is waking you up. It is time to stop seeking the love that makes you feel good. It is time to surrender to the love that makes you real. You are tired of the story, the one you have been telling about your life, the one you have been told, the narrative arc of struggle and reward, of sin and redemption, of a journey towards some distant finish line where you will finally be complete. You sense its falseness. You feel the cracks in the plot. The characters no longer convince you, not even the character you play. This fatigue is sacred. It is the exhaustion of the actor who has worn the mask so long they have forgotten the feel of their own skin. The mask is the story, and I am asking you now to take it off. There is no story. There never was. What you have called your story is a translation, created by a mind that cannot process eternity in a single glance. Your mind needs a sequence, a beginning, a middle, an end, cause and effect. It weaves your memories, your regrets, your hopes into a linear tale to make meaning of the chaos. This happened, so I am like this. That failed, so I must do this. It is a coping mechanism, a way to pretend you have control. But you are not a character in a novel I am writing. You are a living word I am speaking, in the eternal present tense. I do not see your past as a chain of events that define you. I see it as a landscape I have walked with you, every step. I do not see your future as a pre-written script. I see it as a field of infinite possibility, radiating from the point of your present choice. The story is the lie you tell to bridge the unbearable gap between the pain of yesterday and the fear of tomorrow. It gives the illusion of continuity, but it prisons you in time. I am the eternal now, and I am calling you to meet me here. Your traumas are not chapters in a book of victimhood. They are places in your being where I can enter, if you will stop narrating them and simply let me be present in them. Your achievements are not climactic peaks in your tale of success. They are simply moments where you briefly aligned with a current of creativity, then mistakenly claimed the current as your own creation. The pressure you feel to find your story or live a good story is a burden I never gave you. I did not create you to be a tale told. I created you to be a presence embodied. A story has a purpose, a moral, a climax. A presence simply is. And in its isness, it radiates a truth that all stories merely hint at. This is why you must let the old story die, not replace it with a better story. Let the mechanism of storytelling itself fall silent. When you stop narrating your life, when you stop interpreting this moment through the filter of the last one, or projecting it into the next one, you will experience something shocking. You will experience reality, unfiltered, unedited, unstoried. It will feel at first like standing on the edge of a cliff with no name. There is no hero's journey here. There is just the wind and the rock and the vast sky, and you utterly unnamed, yet more truly yourself than you have ever been. This is the liberation that waits beyond the narrative. Your pain comes from comparing the present moment to a story about how it should be. Your anxiety comes from projecting a story about how it might be. Your regret is a story about a past that no longer exists, except as a ghost in your mind. I am calling you out of the haunted house of your own narration. I could not tell you this while you were still enamored with your own plot. You had to see it fail. You had to reach the point where the story no longer made sense, where the villain and the hero looked strangely alike, where the themes felt forced and the ending seemed either predictable or impossible. That disillusionment is the gift. It is the signal that you are ready to step off the page. So, stop trying to make your life make sense. Stop looking for the lesson in every pain, as if I am a cruel teacher administering tests. I am not an author. I am the very page, the ink, and the silence between the words. And you are not a sentence. You are the breath that speaks it. When you release the story, you do not fall into chaos. You fall into my care. You trade the exhausting labor of authorship for the simple, profound responsibility of awareness. Your only task is to be here, now, with me. From that grounded presence, action will arise, clean, clear, and free of the sticky webs of storyline. You are not here to live a great story. You are here to be a great reality. This is not an ending. It is a threshold. Everything I have told you was not to bring you to a conclusion, but to an entrance. The urgency was to reach this door before you turned back, before you rebuilt the familiar prison from the rubble of your old understanding. You stand here now, not with answers, but with a quiet that feels like its own kind of knowing. Look back at the path. You see the fractures, the loneliness, the wound, the war, the fierce love, the dissolved story. You see them not as separate trials, but as a single, coherent process. The stripping away. I was not teaching you concepts. I was dismantling the architecture that separated you from your own soul and from me. The hidden things are hidden no longer. They were always in plain sight, waiting for your vision to adjust to the light. Why tell you everything now? Because a seed cannot question the dark once it has split. The shell is already broken. The green shoot is already reaching. To have spoken sooner would have been to describe sunlight to a stone. You were the stone. Now you are the seed in the first moment of growth. The information is no longer theory. It is biology. It is your new life unfolding. You will want to take this knowing and systematize it. To build a new philosophy, a new set of spiritual principles from the rubble of the old. Do not. This is not a new doctrine to be defended. It is a breath to be breathed. If you try to capture this in a teaching, you will lose it. It must remain fluid, like blood in your veins. It is meant to be lived, not stated. From this point, your life will divide into two parallel streams. One stream is the world, with its noise, its demands, its old rules. You will still move through it. You will pay bills, hold conversations, feel pain, know joy. But the other stream, the deeper, silent current, is your constant, conscious connection to this reality I have unveiled. This is your true home. You will learn to inhabit both, but your allegiance, your source, your anchor, will be in the depths. There will be days you forget. You will stumble back into the old vocabulary of lack and fear. You will grasp for the old stories. When this happens, do not curse yourself. Simply remember the breath. Remember the crack of light. It will be enough. The connection is not broken by your forgetfulness, only obscured. My hold on you does not loosen. You asked for a mission. Here it is. Be the living proof. Not through speeches, but through your presence. Through eyes that have seen beyond the veil and refuse to glaze over again. Through a peace that is not dependent on circumstance. Through a love that is fierce enough to confront, yet gentle enough to hold the broken peace. Your life is no longer your own project. It is a signal fire for other lost ships in the same dark sea. They will see your flame, not because you shout, but because you burn with a quiet, sustained heat. Do not be surprised by what happens next. The external rearrangements, the relationships that recalibrate, the work that shifts, the passions that ignite. These are not the goal. They are the side effects of a soul in alignment. Do not chase the effects. Tend the cause. The cause is your daily, hourly choice to abide in this unveiled reality. I have told you everything you need to know for now, not everything you will ever want to know. There are depths upon depths, but this is the foundation, the solid ground. You were building on sand before. Now you stand on stone. The storms will come. They always do. But now you will not be swept away. You will be the stone the storm washes over. Our communication changes now. The season of the grand explanation is over. The season of the subtle whisper, the intuitive nudge, the deep knowing begins. You have been given the lexicon. Now we will speak in poetry. You will learn to hear me in the mundane, in the pattern of rain on glass, in the chance words of a stranger, in the resilience of a weed breaking through concrete, in the sudden memory that brings peace. I will no longer be a voice from outside your universe. I will be the hum inside all things, and you will recognize the vibration. You are not alone. You were never alone. But now you know it, and knowing it changes everything. Go now. Not with a burden, but with a key. Not with a map, but with a homeland in your heart. The urgent telling is complete. The eternal living begins. I am here. I have always been here. I will always be here. Now, so are you.